Have you ever looked at your life and quietly admitted, I can't keep living like this anymore? Because one day, life punishes delay. One day your excuses stop protecting you. One day your wasted time becomes regret. One day you wake up and realize you spent years distracted, emotionally weak, chasing approval, avoiding discipline, while your potential slowly died in silence. But today can be different. Today, you fix your life. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. If you're ready to become mentally stronger, calmer, more disciplined, and impossible to break, then stay until the end of this video. And subscribe to the channel for more powerful Stoic wisdom that can transform your life forever. Imagine a man standing in the middle of a storm. Rain crashing. Wind screaming. Everything around him falling apart. Yet he stands still. Not because life is easy, but because his mind is strong. That is Stoicism. Stoicism is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming unshakable. And in today's world, most people desperately need that strength. People break down over opinions. They panic over failure. They lose themselves chasing attention. They waste years reacting emotionally to everything. But the Stoics believed something powerful. You cannot control what happens to you. But you can control how you respond. And that changes everything. There was a young man who constantly blamed life for his problems. He blamed his parents, his job, the economy, his friends, his bad luck. Every day he complained that life was unfair. One day, an old mentor told him something simple. If you keep waiting for the world to change before you change, your life will remain broken forever. That sentence hit him hard. Because deep down, he realized the truth. His biggest enemy was not life. It was his mindset. Many people want a better life. But they refuse to become a better person. They want success without discipline. Peace without self-control. Respect without character. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Your life changes the moment you take responsibility for it. No excuses. No blaming. No self-pity. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, ruled during wars, betrayal, disease, and chaos. Yet he wrote these words. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Think about that. Even a powerful emperor understood that inner control mattered more than external comfort. And today, most people have comfort. But no inner control. That is why they suffer. Your phone controls you. Your emotions control you. People's opinions control you. Temporary pleasures control you. And slowly, your life falls apart. If you truly want to fix your life, you must first reclaim control of your mind. Start with your mornings. Most people wake up already defeated. They grab their phones. Scroll endlessly. Compare themselves to strangers. Feed their anxiety before they even leave bed. Then they wonder why they feel weak all day. A Stoic starts differently. Silence. Reflection. Purpose. There was a businessman who felt mentally exhausted every day. Stress consumed him. His confidence disappeared. His mind felt chaotic. Then he changed one small habit. Every morning, before touching his phone, he sat alone for 10 minutes in silence. No distractions. No noise. Just thought. Within months, his mind became calmer. His decisions improved. His emotions stopped controlling him. Small disciplines create powerful transformations. That is how you rebuild your life. One habit at a time. Another thing destroying people today is emotional addiction. People are addicted to drama. They react instantly. They argue online. They explode in anger. They seek revenge over every insult. But Stoicism teaches restraint. A strong person does not react to everything. Imagine a barking dog. If you bark back at the dog, people will think both of you are crazy. Yet many people spend their lives barking back at every insult, every criticism, every negativity. The Stoic understands something deeper. Not every battle deserves your energy. There was a soldier who insulted a Stoic philosopher in public, hoping to provoke him. The philosopher simply smiled and walked away. The crowd asked why he did not respond. He said, "If someone tries to hand you garbage and you refuse to take it, who does the garbage belong to? That is power. Real strength is emotional control. The next thing you must fix is your relationship with pain. Most people run from discomfort. They avoid hard conversations. Avoid discipline. Avoid challenges. Avoid loneliness. But everything valuable in life is hidden behind discomfort. Strength comes from struggle. Confidence comes from action. Wisdom comes from pain. There was a young athlete who wanted greatness but hated difficult training. Every time things became painful, he quit. Years later, he watched less talented people surpass him. Not because they were special, but because they endured discomfort longer than he did. That realization crushed him. And maybe you need to hear this too. Your future is being shaped by what you tolerate today. If you tolerate laziness, weakness grows. If you tolerate excuses, failure grows. If you tolerate distractions, regret grows. But if you tolerate discipline, your life transforms. Stoicism teaches us to stop fearing pain and start using it. Pain can sharpen you. A sword is created through fire, pressure, and repeated strikes. Humans are no different. Another reason many people feel lost is because they constantly seek validation. They want everyone to approve of them. So they hide their true selves. They fake confidence. They chase attention online. They become prisoners of public opinion. But the Stoics warned against this thousands of years ago. If you live for applause, you will die by criticism. One man spent years trying to impress everyone around him. He bought expensive things he could not afford. Pretended to be successful. Smiled while secretly miserable. One day his friend asked him, "When was the last time you did something because you wanted it?" He had no answer. That is the danger of living for others. A Stoic lives by values, not validation. Because peace begins when you stop needing permission to be yourself. Now let's talk about time. One of the greatest Stoic lessons is this. Your time is your life. And most people waste it carelessly. Hours disappear on meaningless entertainment. Days disappear in procrastination. Years disappear in distractions. Then suddenly they wonder where life went. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." Think about how powerful that is. A man once dreamed of becoming a writer. But every day he delayed his work. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next year. Decades passed. Eventually, he sat in a small apartment staring at blank pages and whispered, "I had the talent, but I wasted the time." That pain is terrifying. Because wasted potential hurts more than failure. Failure teaches lessons. But wasted potential creates regret. If you want to fix your life, protect your time aggressively. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not every distraction deserves attention. Focus is power. Discipline is freedom. And consistency changes everything. Now let's speak about loneliness. Many people fear being alone. So they stay in toxic relationships. Fake friendships. Crowded distractions. Anything to avoid silence. But Stoicism teaches that solitude can build wisdom. There was a young man terrified of being alone with his thoughts. Every second needed noise. music, social media, conversations. One day his phone broke during a long trip. For the first time in years, he sat quietly with himself. At first, it felt uncomfortable. But slowly, he noticed something surprising. His mind became clearer. His anxiety became quieter. His thoughts became deeper. Sometimes the noise around you prevents you from hearing yourself. A Stoic learns to become comfortable alone. Because if you cannot sit peacefully with yourself, no external success will ever satisfy you. Another important lesson. Stop trying to control everything. This destroys many people emotionally. They obsess over outcomes. Fear uncertainty. Panic when life changes unexpectedly. But life is unpredictable. No one controls everything. Not even emperors. Epictetus taught that suffering comes from trying to control what is outside your power. You cannot control people. You cannot control the past. You cannot control every outcome. But you can control your effort. Your mindset. Your response. That is where peace lives. There was a farmer whose horse ran away. The neighbors said, "What terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." Days later, the horse returned with several wild horses. The neighbors said, "What amazing luck." Again, the farmer replied, "Maybe." Later, his son broke his leg while training one of the horses. "Terrible luck," the neighbors said. "Maybe," the farmer answered. Soon after, soldiers arrived to force young men into war, but his injured son was spared. The point is simple. Life events are not always good or bad immediately. Your calmness matters more than your assumptions. Stoicism teaches patience with life. Now let's talk about discipline. This is where most people fail. They rely on motivation. But motivation disappears. Discipline remains. A man once decided to transform his body. The first week he felt excited. The second week became harder. By the third week, motivation vanished. But he kept going anyway. Months later, his body changed. His confidence changed. His entire identity changed. Not because of motivation. Because of discipline. The Stoics believe discipline creates freedom. When you control your impulses, your future improves. When you master yourself, life becomes easier. Most people are slaves to impulse. Impulse tells them, skip the work. Waste more time. React emotionally. Quit early. And they obey. But every time you resist weakness, you become stronger. Every time you choose discipline, you build character. And character determines destiny. Another thing ruining modern lives is comparison. People compare constantly. Someone else's success. Someone else's money. Someone else's appearance. Comparison steals peace. There was a woman who constantly compared her life to people online. Every scroll made her feel inadequate. Eventually she became depressed despite having a good life. One day she deleted social media for a month. Suddenly her mind felt lighter. Her gratitude returned. Her peace returned. Because comparison had poisoned her perspective. The Stoics practiced gratitude daily. Not fake positivity. Real gratitude. For breath. For time. For another chance to improve. When you appreciate what you already have, desperation loses power over you. Now hear this carefully. You do not need to become perfect overnight. That mindset destroys progress. You only need to improve consistently. One step. One decision. One disciplined action at a time. A mountain is climbed step by step. A life is rebuilt the same way. Many people destroy themselves because they expect instant transformation. But real growth is slow. The Stoics understood patience. Nature itself moves patiently. Trees do not grow overnight. Seasons do not rush. Strength develops gradually. Trust the process. Keep improving. Even when nobody notices. Especially when nobody notices. Because true discipline is built in silence. There was an old craftsman known for creating beautiful swords. A student once asked him how he became so skilled. The craftsman replied, "For years, nobody praised me. Nobody cared. I simply continued improving every day." That is mastery. Quiet consistency. Now let's discuss fear. Fear controls millions of lives. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. Fear of starting over. But Stoicism teaches something powerful. Fear shrinks when faced directly. A young entrepreneur delayed starting his business for years because he feared failure. One day, after another sleepless night, he asked himself, "What if failure is painful, but regret is worse?" That question changed him. He finally started. And even though he struggled, he felt alive again. Many people are not destroyed by failure.
And before you leave this video, remember something most people never understand until it is too late. Your environment shapes your mind. If you surround yourself with negativity, distraction, laziness, and chaos, eventually your spirit becomes heavy. Energy spreads. Weakness spreads. Complaining spreads. Fear spreads. But discipline spreads too. Strength spreads too. There was a young man who wanted to improve his life, but every person around him mocked ambition. Whenever he tried to become disciplined, they laughed. Whenever he tried to focus, they distracted him. Eventually he realized something painful. You cannot build a peaceful mind in a toxic environment. So he changed his circle. Not because he hated his old friends, but because he loved his future more. Months later, his mindset transformed completely. The people around you either sharpen your mind, or weaken your character. Choose wisely. The Stoics understood this deeply. They guarded their minds carefully. Because whatever repeatedly enters your mind eventually controls your behavior. That includes the content you watch, the conversations you entertain, the people you admire, the thoughts you repeat daily. Your mind is like a garden. If you neglect it, weeds grow automatically. Negative thoughts, excuses, victim mentality, self-doubt. But if you protect it intentionally, strength grows. Confidence grows. Wisdom grows. Peace grows. This is why mental discipline matters so much. Most people focus only on physical appearance. But the Stoics focused on the condition of the soul. A person can look successful externally while collapsing internally. Money cannot fix inner emptiness. Attention cannot fix lack of self-respect. Pleasure cannot replace purpose. That is why many people who seem successful still feel miserable. They built their lives outwardly, but neglected themselves inwardly. Stoicism teaches inward mastery first. Because when your inner world becomes strong, external chaos loses power over you. Now let's speak about purpose. Many people drift through life without direction. Wake up. Work. Consume entertainment. Sleep. Repeat. Years pass this way. But humans were not created only to exist. We were created to grow. To contribute. To improve. To become stronger than yesterday. A ship without direction eventually gets lost at sea. The same thing happens to people without purpose. One elderly man once said, "My biggest regret is not failure. It is living too long without intention." That sentence contains wisdom. Living without purpose creates emptiness. Stoicism encourages us to live intentionally. Ask yourself, What kind of person am I becoming? What habits define me? What legacy will I leave behind? Because every action shapes identity. Every repeated choice becomes character. And character becomes destiny. Now understand this. Your habits are voting for your future. Every time you choose discipline, you vote for strength. Every time you choose laziness, you vote for weakness. Daily choices seem small. But over years, they become your entire life. There was a man who smoked for decades. Every cigarette felt insignificant. But eventually the consequences arrived. Another man exercised daily. One workout felt insignificant too. But eventually his health, energy, and confidence transformed completely. Small actions repeated consistently create massive outcomes. This is why Stoics value daily routines. Not because routines are exciting, but because they are powerful. A disciplined routine protects your future self. Now let's talk about suffering. Many people ask, why is life so hard? But the Stoics asked a different question. How can hardship strengthen me? That shift changes everything. Imagine two men walking through the same storm. One curses the rain endlessly. The other learns how to walk through it. Both experience difficulty. But only one grows stronger from it. Your mindset determines whether pain destroys you or develops you. A Stoic does not romanticize suffering. But they refuse to waste it. Every hardship contains a lesson. Rejection teaches resilience. Failure teaches wisdom. Loss teaches gratitude. Pain teaches endurance. And endurance creates strength. One boxer trained under brutal conditions. Freezing mornings. Exhausting workouts. Constant pressure. People asked him why he pushed himself so hard. He answered. Because life becomes easier when you become harder to break. That is Stoicism. Not avoiding hardship. Becoming stronger through it. Now hear this carefully. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to change your life. The perfect moment does not exist. Many people waste years preparing mentally instead of acting physically. They say, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll change next month. I need better conditions first. But life keeps moving. Time keeps disappearing. A Stoic acts despite imperfect conditions. Because action creates momentum. There was a writer who dreamed of publishing a book. For years he waited for inspiration. One day an older mentor told him. Inspiration visits people already working. So he began writing daily. Not perfectly. Not brilliantly. But consistently. Eventually the book was finished. That is how transformation happens. Not through sudden miracles. Through repeated effort. Now let's discuss silence. Modern society fears silence. People constantly need stimulation. Notifications. Videos. Arguments. Noise. But silence reveals truth. Silence reveals your fears. Your habits. Your thoughts. Your direction. That is why many people avoid it. But Stoics embraced silence because silence strengthens awareness. A warrior once trained under an old master. The student expected lessons about fighting techniques. Instead, the master told him to sit silently every sunrise. At first the student became frustrated. But after weeks of silence, something changed. His reactions slowed. His focus deepened. His emotions became calmer. The master finally told him. A noisy mind cannot make wise decisions. That lesson matters today more than ever. If you constantly consume noise, your mind becomes scattered. Protect your mental clarity. Spend time away from constant distraction. Think deeply. Reflect honestly. Observe yourself carefully. Because self-awareness is the beginning of self-mastery. Now let's talk about failure. Most people fear failure so much that they never truly try. But failure is not the opposite of success. Quitting is. Every successful person has failed repeatedly. The difference is they continued anyway. Thomas Edison reportedly failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. When asked about failure, he said he discovered thousands of ways that did not work. That is resilience. Stoicism teaches resilience through perspective. Failure is information. Failure is training. Failure is temporary. But giving up permanently destroys possibility. A young musician once performed for almost empty crowds. Night after night nobody noticed him. He could have quit. Instead, he kept practicing. Years later, people called him talented. But they never saw the lonely years of discipline behind his success. Never underestimate persistence. Persistence defeats talent when talent lacks discipline. And Stoicism teaches persistence through calm consistency. Now listen carefully. You become dangerous when you stop depending on external validation. When criticism no longer controls your emotions. You become free. When rejection no longer destroys your confidence. You become powerful. When loneliness no longer terrifies you. You become independent. Most people cannot be themselves because they fear judgment. But no matter what you do, someone will criticize you anyway. So live according to principles, not opinions. One philosopher was once mocked publicly for his appearance. Instead of becoming angry, he laughed. Someone asked why he was not offended. He answered, "If I am not what they say, their words mean nothing. If I am what they say, then I should improve instead of becoming angry." That level of emotional maturity is rare. And powerful. Now let us speak about death. The Stoics reflected on death often. Not to become depressed. But to become awake. Because remembering mortality creates urgency. One day, every conversation ends. Every opportunity disappears. Every excuse becomes meaningless. Life is temporary. And strangely, that is what makes it valuable. A man spent years postponing meaningful moments. Too busy. Too distracted. Too focused on minor problems. Then he unexpectedly lost someone he loved deeply. Suddenly he realized how fragile life truly is. From that moment forward, he lived differently. More present. More grateful. More intentional. Stoicism teaches us not to waste life sleepwalking. Appreciate simple moments. Value your loved ones. Use your time wisely. Because none of us know how much time remains. And finally, understand this. Fixing your life is not a one-time decision. It is a daily commitment. Some days you will feel strong. Other days you will struggle. Some days discipline feels natural. Other days it feels exhausting. But continue anyway. Strength is built through repetition. The same way water slowly shapes stone, daily habits slowly shape character. You do not need perfection. You need persistence. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to improve. Another opportunity to think better. Act better. Live better. And over time, those small improvements create a completely different person. One day you will look back and barely recognize the weak, distracted, emotionally unstable version of yourself. Not because life became easier. But because you became stronger. So from this day forward. Protect your mind. Control your emotions. Master your habits. Guard your time. Face discomfort bravely. Walk away from negativity. Choose discipline over impulse. Choose purpose over distraction. Choose growth over excuses. And remember. Calm people are powerful people. Because when chaos cannot control your emotions, you become unstoppable, better than almost any philosophy on earth. Your peace is your responsibility. Not your partner's responsibility. Not society's responsibility. Not the world's responsibility. Yours. Many people destroy their own peace by constantly attaching themselves to things they cannot control. They obsess over what others think. They replay old mistakes endlessly. They worry about the future every night. And slowly, anxiety consumes them. But the Stoics practiced something powerful. They focused only on what they could control in this moment. Their actions. Their attitude. Their character. Nothing more. There was a fisherman caught in a violent storm at sea. The waves were enormous. The wind was terrifying. Everyone on the boat panicked. But the fisherman remained calm. Someone shouted, "How are you not afraid?" He answered, "Fear will not stop the storm. But calmness may help me survive it." That is wisdom. Panic never improves a situation. Calm thinking does. And in life, storms will come. Financial problems. Heartbreak. Failure. Loneliness. Disappointment. No human escapes difficulty. But Stoicism teaches us to remain steady through all of it. Like a mountain standing through violent weather. Strong. Grounded. Unshaken. Now let's talk about self-respect. Many people want confidence, but live in ways that destroy their own self-respect. They lie to themselves. Break promises to themselves. Avoid responsibility. Live without discipline. Then they wonder why they feel weak internally. Confidence is not built by motivational words. It is built by evidence. Every time you keep your word to yourself, confidence grows. When you say, "I will wake up early," and you do it, confidence grows. When you say, "I will stop wasting time," and you follow through, confidence grows. Self-respect comes from self-discipline. A young man once asked a wise teacher, "How do I become confident?" The teacher replied, "Do difficult things and survive them." Simple. Powerful. True. Confidence is earned through action. Not imagined through fantasy. Now understand this carefully. Your mind believes what you repeatedly show it. If your actions constantly communicate weakness, your identity becomes weak. But disciplined actions create a disciplined identity. That is why small victories matter. Making your bed. Finishing your workout. Reading instead of scrolling. Remaining calm during conflict. These moments seem small, but they are training your character. The Stoics treated daily life like training for the soul. Every inconvenience became practice. Every frustration became a test of patience. Every obstacle became an opportunity for growth. Imagine how powerful your life would become if you approached challenges this way. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift changes suffering into wisdom. There was a blacksmith who trained his son by placing iron into fire repeatedly. The boy asked, "Why do you keep burning the metal?" The father answered, "Because strength is created through pressure." Humans are similar. Pressure reveals character. Difficult times reveal who you truly are. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. But can you remain calm during chaos? Can you stay disciplined during pain? Can you keep moving when motivation disappears? That is where true strength is born. Now let's discuss attachment. One major source of suffering is unhealthy attachment. People become attached to outcomes. To people. To status. To comfort. And when life changes, they collapse emotionally. Stoicism teaches balance. Appreciate things deeply. But understand they are temporary. A wealthy merchant once lost most of his fortune overnight. Everyone expected him to break down emotionally. Instead, he remained composed. When asked how he stayed calm, he said, "I enjoyed wealth while I had it, but I never allowed it to own my peace." That mindset is freedom. The Stoic enjoys life without becoming dependent on it. Because dependence creates fear. And fear destroys peace. Now hear this clearly. The strongest people are not always the loudest. True strength is often quiet. Quiet discipline. Quiet confidence. Quiet resilience. The world celebrates noise. But Stoicism celebrates control. A lion does not need to announce its power constantly. Weak people seek attention. Strong people seek mastery. There was an old martial artist known for incredible skill. Yet he never bragged. Never argued unnecessarily. Never tried to intimidate people. One student finally asked, "Master, why are you so calm all the time?" The old man smiled and said, "When you truly know your strength, you no longer need to prove it. That is inner power. And that is what Stoicism develops." Now let's speak about gratitude again because many people underestimate its importance. A person who is never grateful will never feel satisfied. No achievement will ever feel enough. No success will feel complete. Because the problem is not external. It is internal emptiness. The Stoics practiced gratitude daily because gratitude protects the mind from bitterness. One man lost his job unexpectedly. At first, he felt angry and hopeless. But instead of collapsing emotionally, he focused on what remained. His health. His family. His ability to work. His opportunity to start again. That mindset gave him strength to rebuild. Gratitude does not ignore problems. It simply prevents problems from blinding you completely. Now let's discuss excuses. Excuses destroy potential quietly. People say, "I don't have enough time. I'm not talented. My situation is difficult. I'll start later." Meanwhile, disciplined people continue improving. 1 hour at a time. One effort at a time. A poor student once dreamed of changing his life through education. He worked long hours during the day and studied late into the night. People told him success was impossible. Years later, he became highly successful. Not because life was fair. But because he refused to let excuses control him. Stoicism teaches radical responsibility. You may not control your starting point. But you control your response. And your response determines your future. Now imagine your life 5 years from today. If you continue your current habits, where will you end up? That question matters. Because your future is not created suddenly. It is created daily. Your habits are building your future right now. Every distraction matters. Every discipline matters. Every decision matters. And deep down, you already know which habits are helping you. And which habits are destroying you. Be honest with yourself. Stoicism demands honesty. Not comfortable lies. Truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. But truth also frees you. A man once spent years pretending everything was fine. Smiling publicly. Suffering privately. Eventually he admitted the truth to himself. His habits were ruining his life. That painful honesty became the beginning of his transformation. You cannot improve a life you refuse to examine. That is why self-reflection matters. Take time to ask yourself difficult questions. Am I living with discipline? Am I controlling my emotions? Am I wasting my time? Am I becoming stronger or weaker? The Stoics reflected constantly because awareness creates change. Now let's speak about patience. Modern society is addicted to instant results. People want success immediately. Healing immediately. Transformation immediately. But nature does not work that way. Strong trees grow slowly. Strong minds develop slowly. Strong character forms slowly. Patience is power. There was a farmer who planted bamboo seeds. For years, nothing visible happened. No growth. No progress. Most people would have quit. But he continued watering the seeds daily. Then suddenly, the bamboo grew rapidly. What people did not see was the deep foundation growing underground first. Human growth works similarly. Sometimes your progress is invisible before it becomes visible. Keep working. Keep improving. Keep building. Even when results feel slow. Especially then. Because discipline during invisible progress creates extraordinary people. And finally, remember this. You do not need to conquer the entire future today. You only need to conquer this moment. This decision. This action. This hour. Can you stay calm right now? Can you act with discipline right now? Can you choose wisdom right now? That is enough. A powerful life is built moment by moment. Not through giant dramatic changes. But through repeated daily choices. So breathe deeply. Stand tall. Strengthen your mind. Protect your peace. And stop underestimating yourself. You have survived difficult days before. You have endured pain before. You have rebuilt yourself before. There is strength inside you that you still have not fully discovered. But you will never discover it while living in comfort, excuses, and distraction. The moment you choose discipline over weakness, your transformation begins. The moment you master your emotions, your peace returns. The moment you stop fearing difficulty, your power awakens. So fix your life now. Not through anger. Not through desperation. Through calm discipline. Through self-control. Through daily improvement. That is the Stoic way. And perhaps the hardest Stoic lesson of all is learning how to let go. Let go of the past. Let go of resentment. Let go of people who constantly drain your spirit. Let go of mistakes that no longer exist except inside your mind. Many people stay emotionally trapped for years because they keep reliving old pain. An insult from years ago. A betrayal. A failure. A lost opportunity. They carry these memories like chains. But Stoicism teaches that carrying unnecessary emotional weight only weakens your future. There was an old traveler walking up a mountain carrying a heavy bag of stones. A young boy asked him, "Why are you carrying that?" The traveler replied, "These stones represent every painful thing that happened to me." The boy looked confused and said, "But if they only slow you down, why not put them down?" That question changed the old man forever. Many of us are doing the same thing emotionally. Still carrying things that no longer serve us. Yes, pain leaves scars. But scars are proof of healing, not reasons to stop living. A Stoic learns from the past. Without becoming imprisoned by it. Now let's talk about emotional independence. One of the most dangerous habits is depending on other people for your happiness. Because humans are unpredictable. People change. People leave. People disappoint. If your emotional stability depends entirely on others, your peace will always remain fragile. Stoicism teaches inner stability. This does not mean avoiding love or friendship. It means building a strong foundation within yourself first. There was a man who completely lost himself after a relationship ended. He stopped eating properly. Stopped working hard. Stopped caring about life. One day an older friend told him, "If your entire identity disappears when one person leaves, then you were never truly connected to yourself." That truth hurt him deeply. But it awakened him. Slowly he rebuilt his confidence. His discipline. his purpose. And eventually he realized something important. People can add joy to your life. But they should not become the source of your worth. Your worth already exists. The Stoics believed dignity comes from character, not external approval. And that mindset creates emotional freedom. Now understand this. Not every person deserves access to you. Some people only bring chaos, drama, negativity, manipulation. And one of the strongest things you can do is walk away peacefully. Not every conflict requires. There was a man who spent years saying, "I'll change someday." But someday never arrived. His health declined. His opportunities disappeared. His confidence faded. One day he looked in the mirror and barely recognized himself. Not because one massive failure destroyed him, but because small daily neglect slowly did. This is why Stoicism emphasizes daily discipline. Because life is built daily. A strong life is not created accidentally. It is designed intentionally. Now let's speak about resilience again, because modern life often makes people mentally fragile. The smallest inconvenience ruins their mood. The smallest criticism destroys their confidence. The smallest setback stops their progress. But Stoicism trains endurance. The Stoics intentionally practice discomfort sometimes. Cold weather. Simple food. Hard conditions. Why? Because they wanted to remind themselves, I can survive difficulty. That mindset creates fearlessness. A warrior who has already trained in discomfort becomes calm during chaos. But someone addicted to comfort panics easily. Comfort is pleasant. But too much comfort weakens the mind. Growth requires resistance. Just like muscles grow through stress, character grows through challenge. Now imagine two versions of yourself. One version avoids difficulty constantly. Sleeps late. Quits easily. Seeks comfort. Avoids responsibility. The other version faces life directly. Disciplined. Focused. Calm under pressure. Which version will create a better future? The answer is obvious. And every single day, your choices move you closer to one of those identities. That is why your daily actions matter more than your intentions. Many people intend to improve. Few commit to improvement. Stoicism is about practice, not performance. Not sounding wise. Living wisely. Now let's discuss ego. Ego destroys growth because ego hates correction. A person controlled by ego refuses to admit mistakes. Refuses to learn. Refuses to improve. But Stoicism teaches humility. Even the wisest people remain students of life. A famous philosopher was once seen asking questions to a poor old man in the marketplace. Someone asked, why would a great philosopher seek advice from him? The philosopher answered, wisdom can come from anyone if your ego is quiet enough to hear it. That mindset creates endless growth. Never become too proud to improve. The moment you believe you already know everything, your growth stops. Now understand this deeply. Your external world often reflects your internal state. A chaotic mind creates chaotic decisions. An undisciplined mind creates an undisciplined life. But a calm mind creates clarity. This is why Stoicism focuses first on mastering the self. Not controlling others. Not controlling the world. Controlling yourself. Because self-mastery influences every part of life. Your relationships improve. Your decisions improve. Your peace improves. Your future improves. And perhaps the most powerful part is this. Nobody can take inner discipline away from you. Money can disappear. Status can disappear. Comfort can disappear. But character remains. A strong mind remains. There was once a prisoner who lost everything externally. Freedom. comfort, security. Yet he remained mentally strong. People asked how he stayed so calm under terrible conditions. He answered, "They can control my environment. But they cannot control my mind unless I allow it." That is true power. The Stoics believed freedom begins internally. And once your mind becomes disciplined, life cannot easily break you anymore. Now let's speak about consistency one final time. Most people fail because they rely on intensity instead of consistency. They become extremely motivated for 3 days. Then disappear. But small consistent effort defeats occasional bursts of motivation. A drop of water falling consistently can slowly shape stone. Never underestimate repeated effort. 1 page read daily becomes knowledge. 1 workout daily becomes strength. 1 disciplined action daily becomes transformation. Your future self is created by what you repeatedly do. Not occasionally. Repeatedly. So if you truly want to fix your life, stop waiting. Stop complaining. Stop blaming. Stop escaping. Face yourself honestly. Build discipline quietly. Strengthen your mind daily. Protect your peace carefully. And understand that real transformation is not loud. It happens in silence. Early mornings. Difficult decisions. Private discipline. Quiet self-control. That is where powerful people are created. 1 calm decision at a time. And one day, people will look at you and admire your strength without understanding the battles you fought internally to build it. They will see confidence. But not the fear you overcame. They will see peace. But not the chaos you survived. They will see discipline. But not the comfort you sacrificed. That is the reward of self-mastery. A life built from inner strength. So from this moment forward, choose differently. Choose discipline when laziness calls. Choose calmness when anger rises. Choose focus when distractions appear. Choose courage when fear whispers. Choose growth when excuses tempt you. Because every disciplined choice rebuilds your life. And remember this forever. The strongest person in the room is usually the calmest one. And one day, if you continue walking this path, something extraordinary begins to happen. The things that once controlled you lose their power. Insults no longer shake you. Temporary failures no longer destroy your confidence. Loneliness no longer terrifies you. Delays no longer frustrate you. Because your strength is no longer dependent on external comfort. It comes from within. That is the ultimate goal of Stoicism, inner stability in an unstable world. Most people spend their entire lives chasing control over external things. More money. More attention. More approval. More comfort. Yet they never learn to control themselves. And without self-control, external success means very little. A person who cannot control anger destroys relationships. A person who cannot control impulses destroys opportunities. A person who cannot control emotions destroys peace. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Victory over yourself is the greatest victory of all. There was once a powerful general who conquered many nations. People feared him. Admired him. Respected his authority. But one day, after losing his temper over a small mistake, he destroyed years of trust with his own soldiers. An old philosopher later told him, "You conquered cities but failed to conquer yourself." That sentence haunted him. Because it was true. External power without inner discipline eventually collapses. Now ask yourself honestly. What currently controls you? Anger? Comfort? Fear? Validation? Distraction? Laziness? Be truthful. Because identifying weakness is the first step toward overcoming it. The Stoics believed self-awareness creates transformation. A blind person cannot correct their direction until they realize they are lost. And many people today are mentally lost without realizing it. They drift through life distracted and emotionally reactive. But you can choose differently. You can become intentional. You can become disciplined. You can become calm in situations that once overwhelmed you. And that process begins with awareness. Now let's speak about adversity. Most people see obstacles as signs to stop. The Stoics saw obstacles as training. Marcus Aurelius famously believed, the obstacle becomes the way. Meaning the difficulty itself can become the path to growth. A man once lost his job unexpectedly. At first, he felt devastated. But during the difficult months that followed, he learned new skills, started his own business, and rebuilt his confidence completely. Years later he admitted, "Losing my job felt like destruction at the time, but it forced me to become stronger." Sometimes life removes comfort because comfort is preventing growth. Sometimes pain redirects your future. And sometimes what feels like a setback becomes the beginning of transformation. That is why Stoics practice perspective. Not every difficulty is your enemy. Some struggles are shaping you into someone stronger. Now hear this carefully. Your emotional reactions become habits. If you react with anger constantly, anger becomes automatic. If you react with fear constantly, fear becomes automatic. But calmness can become automatic too. Discipline can become automatic too. A Stoic trains emotional habits deliberately. There was a man known for remaining calm during emergencies. People constantly asked how he stayed composed under pressure. He answered, "I practiced calmness during small problems, so larger problems no longer controlled me." That is powerful. Most people only attempt self-control during major crises. But Stoicism trains the mind daily. Patience in traffic. Calmness during criticism. Discipline during temptation. Small moments build powerful character. Now let's talk about simplicity. Modern society constantly says, more is better. More possessions. More status. More luxury. But Stoicism teaches simplicity. Because many people are exhausted not from lacking things, but from constantly chasing things. A wealthy businessman once owned expensive cars, giant houses, and endless possessions. Yet internally, he felt restless and empty. One day he visited an old monk living peacefully with very little. Confused, the businessman asked, "How can you be so content with so little?" The monk smiled and replied, "How can you be so restless with so much?" That question stayed with him forever. Peace does not automatically come from accumulation. Sometimes peace comes from needing less. The Stoics valued simplicity because simplicity protects freedom. The more unnecessary desires control you, the easier life controls you. Now let's discuss forgiveness. Many people poison themselves with resentment. They replay betrayals repeatedly. They feed anger constantly. They refuse to let go. But hatred damages the person carrying it. Forgiveness does not mean pretending someone's actions were acceptable. It means refusing to let bitterness control your future. There was a man betrayed deeply by someone he trusted. For years he carried anger everywhere. Eventually an old mentor told him, "You are allowing one painful event to steal the rest of your life." That truth hit him hard. And slowly, he learned to let go. Not for the other person. For his own peace. Stoicism teaches emotional freedom through detachment from destructive emotions. Because peace matters more than pride. Now understand this. Your standards determine your future. If your standards are low, your life becomes weak. If you tolerate laziness, chaos grows. If you tolerate disrespect, suffering grows. If you tolerate excuses, regret grows. But when your standards rise, your life rises too. A disciplined person has standards. Standards for behavior. Standards for habits. Standards for focus. Not because they think they are superior, but because they respect their own future. A young athlete once trained with extraordinary discipline. His friends mocked his strict routines. Years later, while others remained stuck, he achieved everything he worked for. Discipline separated him from the average. And discipline can separate you too. Now let's speak about identity. The most important story in your life is the story you tell yourself. If you constantly say, "I'm weak. I'm unlucky. I always fail," your mind begins believing it. But Stoicism teaches responsibility over identity. You are not defined permanently by your past mistakes. You are shaped by your current actions. A man who spent years living carelessly once decided to rebuild his life. At first, he still saw himself as weak and undisciplined. But daily habits slowly changed his identity. He exercised consistently, read consistently, worked consistently. Eventually he realized he was becoming a different person through repeated action. Identity changes through behavior. Not wishes. Not words. Actions. Now imagine how powerful your future could become if you remain disciplined for the next 5 years. Think about that seriously. 5 years of controlled emotions. 5 years of focused effort. 5 years of consistent improvement. Your entire life could transform. Most people underestimate what consistency can do over time. The Stoics understood long-term thinking. They knew greatness is usually built slowly. Brick by brick. Habit by habit. Decision by decision. Now let's discuss peace. Real peace is not the absence of problems. Real peace is the ability to remain centered despite problems. Because life will always contain uncertainty. But a trained mind does not collapse easily. A sailor cannot control the ocean. But they can learn how to navigate storms. That is Stoicism. Learning how to navigate life without losing yourself emotionally. And finally, remember this above all else. Your life changes the moment you stop escaping responsibility. The moment you stop blaming others. You regain power. The moment you stop waiting for motivation. You regain control. The moment you stop fearing discomfort. You begin growing. And growth changes everything. One disciplined day becomes one disciplined week. One disciplined week becomes one disciplined month. One disciplined month becomes a transformed life. So keep going. Even when progress feels slow. Even when nobody notices. Even when discipline feels difficult. Because every calm decision strengthens your character. And character is more valuable than temporary pleasure. At the end of life, people rarely regret being too disciplined. They regret wasted time. Wasted potential. Wasted courage. Do not let that become your story. Stand up. Take control of your mind. Master your habits. Protect your peace. And become the kind of person who remains calm while the world loses control. That is strength. That is freedom. That is the Stoic way. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel for more powerful Stoic wisdom and mindset transformation content. Your strongest self is built one disciplined day at a time.